Have you ever stumbled on a top-level Splatoon tournament or game and wondered who the players were? This is a series where we get to know the top players in competitive Splatoon. I recently had the opportunity to talk with one of the top players in the West, Toyoben.
I'm Toyoben, currently captain of Zero Devs and a high/top-level competitive player for 5 years now already. And I'm currently playing support weapons such as the NZAP and Splatlands Junior, but also, of course, the usual meta weapons like Splash.
Today, we're going to be covering his 5 years in competitive Splatoon, his mindset towards the game, what he's learned while in the competitive scene, and what his hopes are for the future. Before we do that, though, I want to introduce why I am beginning this series. As someone who's new to both Splatoon and the competitive Splatoon scene, I personally have a lot of questions and curiosities about the history of the competitive scene. When working on my recent video on the North American Championship qualifiers, I did some preliminary research on the major Splatoon tournaments and was often met with emptiness. Tournament names were listed, but too often there was no information about where it was, who competed, and what happened at the tournaments. The tournaments that do have further information can be sporadic in the amount of detail provided, and a lot of questions I have as a newcomer to the scene go unanswered. This is a problem that is even further exacerbated by some tournaments having their information shared exclusively on Twitter, where accounts die, get deleted, or are lost and forgotten. This even came up in my discussion with Toyoben.
I don't know, especially for the first 4 teams pretty much, or maybe even 5, which majors I played in. Looking back, it's hard to keep track on the results you got, because the teams will just post it on their Twitter account, and some of those accounts get lost, get deactivated. But basically the first 2 years, 2018 and 2019, I don't know much of what tournaments we played in.
And there's also sendu.inc, which is an amazing resource, and it's where competitive players can provide information about their competitive history, but there's no standardization, nor is it complete, and it's up to the given player on what information they choose to upload to their sendu profile, so there's gaps even there. This means that much of the history of the Splatoon competitive scene is incomplete and difficult to find. And again, as someone who wants to learn about the competitive scene, this is a problem that I want to help address in the ways that I can. I also think that it's worth noting that in my own personal time, I've really enjoyed watching competitive Splatoon. I don't know if the majority of folks watching this video have ever been inclined to start watching tournaments or scrims, because they haven't had an opportunity to get to know the people in those teams. Having the opportunity to become familiar with the top players, humanize them, and know their history in the scene might pique your interest if you know that they're going to be playing in a big upcoming tournament. You'll have folks to root for, and I definitely think that Toyoben is someone worth rooting for. This is probably one of the biggest projects that I've decided to take on in my channel, and so if you'd like to support me, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe down below. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, make sure to grab some water, tea, coffee, a snack, and there are also timestamps in the description that you can go to and jump around if you would like. Let's first start off with the timeline of his competitive play and the teams that he's been on thus far.
Okay, so first, in February 2018, I first joined CST competitive, and I left after 2 weeks because of the lack of activity, and I just felt like I wanted to improve more than the others in this clan. Then March 2018, just a month after this, I joined my first actual team, Ethereal Gemini, which also didn't last long because it had a roster problem pretty much. We were a lot of people, and then just decided to reform this team into what we called Project X. With this team, I played my first season of Looty, which we were seeded Div 3 in. I was a bit dissatisfied with our performance after a while, and just felt like I had more motivation to improve than the rest of the team. And I, through coincidence, I think, I don't know exactly how, got into contact with Division 1 players at the time, Rachel and his girlfriend, Serenity, who were both on Div 1 teams at that time, Takeover and Oblivion. And yeah, they decided to play with me a few times and were telling me, you're better than the team, you should try to actually improve a bit more by yourself, and then maybe you can even get into a different team because your current mates aren't improving at the same rate you are. So I still played with Project X for a while because they were my friends. I didn't want to ditch them immediately. I was hoping that they would improve faster, so like we could stay a team, because I didn't just want to be like, I'm better than you, I'm gonna leave you. I of course wanted to improve as a team and not just leave them for me to get into a better team. But yeah, after that failed, after a few months, I decided to join another team or search for a new team, which then was my first Division 1 team in Luti called Ragna. I came up with the name, and the team name of Ragna basically derives from the northern mythological thing Ragnarok. It's essentially the history of the myth of the fall of the gods. We wanted the team to be the team that stands up to the top teams at the time and takes down the gods, basically. And yeah, with that team, it was just me and 3 French players. And yeah, we won, or we did pretty well from the get-go. And I was playing Splattershot at the time. Splattershot and 10 attack Splattershot. Splattershot 10 attack Splattershot because of the inkjet at the time was pretty good. So I was the Slayer of the team. And the issue with playing with 3 French players, especially back then, was that they didn't speak English that well, that they would always speak it. So as soon as you were with more than, as soon as there were 2 French players in UVC, they would always start speaking French to each other. So if you were the 3rd person in VC, you would feel left out. Especially if you don't know French that well. I knew a bit of French, so I could pick up some of what they were saying. So every time I didn't perform as well, and I heard them talk, I heard some snippets that were not the friendliest towards me. So that of course put me and my 15-year-old self under even more pressure. No, I was still 14 back then. Yeah, I was still 14. Put me under more pressure. And I didn't handle that very well at the time, because I was like, I'm in this really good new team and I want us to perform well, because if I fail, what if they will kick me if I don't do what they want me to do, basically. So it was really bad for my mental back at the time, and I struggled to get out of that. So then I started to switch to support weapons, because I felt like, okay, the pressure is not that much on me to do kills. And I started playing Ken's Undercover Umbrella and H3D, which were the armor meta plays at the time. Before that, I was playing the Slayers, basically. I was playing everything that had inkjet, because it was an inkjet meta and armor was meta throughout the game. Switched from playing those 3 weapons to playing more supportive weapons like the Ken's Undercover Umbrella and H3D. Yeah, but it was mainly just to the easier mindset. I felt like I didn't have that much pressure on me as a support, because nobody expected me to have the 18 kills a match or something like that. So today it's completely different. Today I can flex on Slayer. It's not the same anymore. But back then, when I had this more fragile mindset and always was afraid of underperforming, back then it was an issue. And because of course as a Slayer you have to be confident. That's the main thing as a Slayer. You have to be the one that you're really sure of your own aim, your own abilities, and you want to be the one that is not afraid of taking fights. So if you are afraid of taking fights, then you start losing pretty bad, and then the spiral basically goes downwards from there for me. Like I got afraid of losing, so I was afraid of fights. And if I'm a Slayer afraid of fights, I'm going to fail those fights, and it's basically just spirals downwards from there. And yeah, I wasn't doing well back then. I wasn't a good player. Like, I wouldn't have put myself into Div 1. I mean, some people must have thought I was good. There must have been a reason why I got there, like, somehow. But yeah, of course, looking back, I think, like, I definitely wasn't what I would call Div 1. Also, the players I of the team I'm still friends with, or like I still recently played with. The player that some people might know is Promano, who's now one of the best French players. And I also played on RSL 3 recently with him. And yeah, we announced that team and only lasted, I think, for around 3 months. Basically, it's disbanded in January of 2019. Then a few months later, March 2019, I joined the German team Palagos, which I had a bit of trouble with the team leader. And after being a free agent for a whole year, I then founded my first own team, which I called Codex. But I was tired of those teams being not what I wanted. So I was like, actually, this time I'm going to be the one that is the captain of the team. I'm going to search for people that I really like playing with, and I'm going to make my own team. So around March 23rd, 2020, I founded my team Codex, which was a fully German team, or basically fully German. We had one Polish Hydra player, but yeah, later became fully German speaking. That team just happened because I searched for players with potential. So I didn't play with players I knew for a long time. I just searched for people that I thought could be good. So I then made this team with them, and we had a pretty good run in a lot of tournaments that many people considered. If you win those, you get into +2 into the server pretty fast, but we didn't. So we just struggled with finding teams on our level to practice against. And after a while of like never getting into this exclusive server to play against teams that we like wanted to practice against, we just basically gave up because we just were like, we're being gate capped, getting results, but we're getting nowhere pretty much. And that's how we felt back then. I don't know exactly how it was back then. I don't remember everything, but that's just how we felt. Some players just lost motivation because of that, and then the team disbanded. So because of that, I was an FA for a long time. And then in my time as an FA, strangely, I got into +2. So in the time I was in a team, I didn't get into the server, but as soon as this team disbanded, I got into +2. And then in +2, I just played with a lot of people. Then also, of course, a few German players at the time. And with those German players, I later made Haarige Hinterländler, which lasted till almost the end of Splatoon 2. I think I was actually good in that time. We tied 8th in Super Jump. Super Jump was a major super stacked. And that was in September 2021, so not that long ago, because I don't really remember the majors before 2021. Haarige Hinterländler was basically just me being too lazy to come up with team names for all the pickups I did, because I don't know. So if we go through it chronologically, in Splatoon 2, I joined a variety of different teams, a few more Division 1 teams. And then when my teams before that didn't work out, I became an FA, free agent. I stayed a free agent for about a year. And then I started to name my pickups, because I didn't have a team. I just played I played a lot with pickups. I started to name my teams Haarige Hinterländler, no matter who was on the team, because I just was too lazy to come up with different names for all the pickups I was playing with. It basically just means hairy hillbillies, basically there's people that live in the middle of nowhere. Hinterländler is German for people that live in the middle of nowhere, and Haarige is hairy. Yeah, and I think it was about the time that the first Splatoon 3 trailer was released. So for a while, we even had like just the image from the trailer as our team picture. And it wasn't a team; it was just a pickup. So I did a bunch of pickups with under this name, Haarige Hinterländler, and it was a mainly German pickup. After a while, I had a few where I played with players like Isabel, who's now on my team again. So I knew her back then already. Haarige Hinterländler became a German-speaking pickup. So we also had Swiss players like Trizzy and Phoenix, mainly German-speaking. And after a while of being a pickup, we decided to actually become a team. So this was at the end of Splatoon 2 pretty much. September 26th. Yeah, I played Super Jump with them, and then after that we pretty much decided to make a team. So yeah, that was September 26th and 2021. And this team lasted almost an entire year. So we played a Luti season, became Div 1 again, for I think it was the fourth time. This was a really fun or weird team because we had weird comms for the time. Storm and Phoenix, who are on my current team as well, Zero Devs. Storm was a ballpoint player for as long as I can remember. And in the team, Trizzy was also a brush player, and Shoko, a German player as well, was an RB player. So there were pretty weird comms, but we somehow still did pretty decent. Some of our best results were like winning against Alliance Rogue. Yeah, we did some pretty good runs, but towards the last 2 months of Splatoon, we just got into a phase where nothing worked. Like, we lost to teams that we absolutely shouldn't lose to in theory. I don't know, I think it just happens sometimes where you have phases where just no matter what you do, just nothing feels like it works. And if you never get out of this phase, or it just drags out, you just lose motivation. If you know what your mistake is and what you have to work on, then it's easy. But if you we tried this, we changed this, and it still didn't work. We tried this and it didn't work. You feel like you try stuff, but it just never works in your favor. Then after trying 20 times, you just lose motivation, I think. So that sadly happened to us back then. At the start of Splatoon 3, because of how Haarige disbanded at the end of Splatoon 2, I was a free agent at the launch of Splatoon 3, which I didn't expect, because Haarige was performing really well for a while. I was like, as you see from the logo and the entire branding of the team, I wanted to be a Splatoon 3 team. Yeah, because the entire branding, with the Fuzzy Inklings, it was just perfect for a Splatoon 3 team. But this team never experienced Splatoon 3. So I was an FA at the start of Splatoon 3, and at the end of Splatoon 2, I got into +1 for a while because of the good results that I got with Haarige. Then Haarige disbanded. So a few players on Haarige found other teams pretty fast, some didn't. I, at the start of Splatoon 3, wanted to make a project with Brian, Isabel, and Phoenix. We played a while and it didn't really work out because I was still in my junior brain from Splatoon 2. So if you don't know, in Splatoon 2, you had this special called Ink Armor, which was a global special. So basically, no matter where you were on the map, you just press the right stick and the magic happens. Junior was just, you paint the map, you throw bombs at people. That was the support role in Splatoon 2. Really easy, really chill if you know what you're doing. I like that because I could focus on giving my team commands, being just shot caller or team captain, however you want to call it. Because I like being the more strategic brain in the team. Then Splatoon 3 changed that. So I was still in my Splatoon 2 playstyle. I struggled to switch to another weapon at the start of Splatoon 3. Before the double splash, double machine, or triple splash meta, I was just uncertain of what to play, what weapon to invest in. So I didn't play a lot of tournaments at the time, which led to me being kicked out of +1. That made it pretty hard for me to find good practice again. Then I did other German projects, which also all didn't work out really. Played another season of Luti, again Division 1. And so this was my 5th season in a row of being the same Luti division. I never won it, by the way. I just always was Division 1. So a couple of projects in Splatoon 3, none of them worked out. Then, luckily, after Phoenix left Graveyard Shift, which was his first Splatoon 3 team, he asked Isabel and Storm, and they searched for a 4th player. And Phoenix, who knew me still from Haarige Hinterländler, asked me then if I wanted to join them. So we then made Zero Devs. Okay, so Zero Devs was really a big lucky timing thing. Because, as I said, Phoenix had his first team, Graveyard Shift, pretty much 2 months into Splatoon 3. So they found each other pretty fast. And then Graveyard Shift became one of the best teams in all of Europe. Pretty much a top 3 team. We also did really good against the NA teams at the time. And Isabel and Storm had the new meta pickup that they also played with a lot because they didn't have other options at the time. So around April, Isabel and Storm were we love playing with new meta, but we also want to have a more active team because home is Indonesian time zones. Lucas has his other team. we want to have a team to practice with, not just new meta. We still want to play with new meta from time to time, but we want to have an actual team. Phoenix at the same time left Graveyard Shift. So you have the best ballpoint player, the best Tetra player, and Phoenix, who's good at every Slayer weapon, all being free agents at the same time. And because Storm knew me already, and Phoenix knew me already from Haarige Hinterländler, and Isabel also knew me a bit because we played in Splatoon 2 a few times. But yeah, mainly because Phoenix and Storm knew me, they just asked me if I wanted to play with them a couple times. Then we just scrimmed for 1 week, and we're like, whoa, this is all working really well. Guys, maybe we should actually just make a team right now, because we just thought it was the perfect fit. Gyrodes was just lucky timing, and then I suggested the team name and the logo. The team name is just a joke because Isabel dies a lot. As a Tetra player, of course, with full QR builds, and Phoenix and I playing in this really fast comp will also die more than usual. Zero deaths is just a joke because we will never have zero deaths because we just rush in and fight and die, and yeah, we play aggressively.
And that is 5 years of Toyoben's competitive history. So how would you say that your mindset has changed throughout your time in competitive play?
I mean, at the start, it was more like, I like playing this game a lot. I just want to become better at it. I didn't go into it from the start being like, I want to be the best player in the world. It was more fun and try to improve at the same time. Now, of course, it's not that I just want me, like I myself, to be the best player in the world, but I just want to be in the best team. So it's not individualistic, but more team focused because it's a team game. You just want to be the best team.
And what would you say makes a good competitive team?
Simply said, I think good teams see mistakes and capitalize off them much quicker and more efficiently. Synergy and stuff like that comes from seeing openings and doing something of them. Because if synergy derives from that, I think, because if 2 players on your team see that opening and go in, but the other 2 don't know what to do really, they just drill back, then that synergy isn't there. But the synergy comes from seeing openings and capitalizing off them. That's also why I think this team leader / shot caller role is important. You can call out positions all the time. You can be, the Viper's bottom right. They have trap ready. They use inkjet on right side. I don't know, the Devils are flanking bottom left, stuff like that. You can call it all the time. But if you don't do anything with that information, it's useless. Much rather than just calling info all the time, you should call commands. At least one on your team should call commands. Like in our team, we have 3 people that call, or basically all of us call commands. I'm not the only one that gives commands. If Storm has his inkjet ready, he will call push with my inkjet. He's not going to say I'm using inkjet, because that's not going to activate you the same way that it says push with my inkjet on right side. You know everything you have to know. And you're instantly like, oh, okay, I'm going. He tells me to go, so I will push with him. Telling your teammates what to do takes the work off of their shoulders, basically. If you tell them what to do, they can just focus on doing the thing instead of thinking about what they should do. Like that's a big advantage of commands.
What's something about competitive play that you would want people to know?
I think it's coming from the outside. A lot of people think that competitive players are so arrogant, and I think a lot of people also, same for Smash, just see the drama on the outside, which, it happens sometimes. I think the community as a whole works really well to work against racists, work against homophobes, pedophiles. Yeah, everybody is aware of those issues and tries their best to work against them. There have been enough instances of really good players, or good players being pedophiles, and they get kicked out and banned from everything instantly, or being homophobes, being racist. So it happened in the past. They got banned and banished from the community instantly. So I think we work against proven instances really fast and get rid of those people in the community. And the other aspect with the arrogance, I think I get why people think that. Because, the best players will, of course, have a bit of an ego, or maybe exaggerate the ego as well, because they have to in the role they play. Like as a Slayer, I want to be hyper confident. I want to have no doubt in my abilities to play, because I cannot doubt myself. So having a stable mindset and hyping yourself up, giving yourself a big ego or confidence boost that just comes with certain roles in the competition. But I think most people, most players are really open to help players that are worse than them and give advice. It's not like they sit on their high throne and spit down on everyone trying to approach them. More like, a lot of people are really open to helping. You have people like Chara, who's also a really good player, and or players from Jackpot who all do content nowadays and try to teach people how to become good. And if people just ignore that and say, they're so arrogant, I don't want to take the advice, then that's their fault. But I think as a whole, as a community, the competitive scene is much more friendly and not as arrogant as people expect. Of course, you have a few arrogant players. There's definitely a few of them, but I think the majority of the community is very friendly, open, and not arrogant.
Is there anything that has surprised you since starting competitive play?
I mean, I'm surprised of how I got here, because I still remember for me, especially my whole journey was a surprise to me, because back then I got into the game and watched players like Watson and Dude and Chara and Kiver, and now I play with or against them. So it's like the story of being a child and watching their videos and be like, whoa, they're so good at the game. I want to be like them. I want to be in a VC with them, talk to them, play with or against them. And now I actually do that stuff. So that's a big surprise. If I would tell myself, if I would tell my 14-year-old self, 5 years in the past, in 5 years we want to be in one of the best teams of Europe or the world, and you're gonna have a YouTube channel and have those players on your channel as well, and you're gonna speak with, you're gonna play with Watson and stuff like that. That would be so hype, basically.
What has been the most difficult thing about competitive play?
I think the most difficult thing after a certain level becomes mentality, because you start out playing the game focusing on your mechanics. You want to have good aim. You want to have the basics, basically. First, you want to become comfortable with a weapon, and then later in tournaments, you want to use the skill, the mechanics that you learned. But I think you can't use those mechanics without the proper mentality, without the stable mindset. Because if you get nervous in a tournament, then all this practice you had in your mechanics, you get shaky, and all the practice you had becomes worthless, basically, if you don't have the mentality to stay consistent, play how you usually play. And that's what I noticed for myself in the past a lot, and then try to work on it, of course. It just comes from playing against the best people a lot, so you don't become nervous playing against the people you respect.
And what about your future goals in competitive play?
Our current goals with Zero Devs are definitely to be the best team in Europe, and after that, of course, be the best team in the West, and after that, of course, be the best team in the world, I guess. But we just take it one step at a time. And for us right now, it just sucks a bit, because if the European Championships were structured like the NA Open or like the North American Championships, we could play as a team. But because all of us are from different countries, we are not able to play together in those championships. So now that all those championships happen, we have to practice with our pickups for those tournaments. And at the same time, we have this team that we also want to practice with. So that's kind of hard to do at the same time. Because otherwise, of course, we could try to play with this team and try to become world champs, which of course is pretty cool. But because of how the EU champs are structured, they're more of an annoying obstacle for us. We just get over it. Let's hope we can get back to actually playing with this team instead of playing for this one event and then wait for another year.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to check out Toyoben and anybody else linked in the description down below. This was so much fun. Just huge thank you to him. I hope to be able to do something like this again in the future. Let me know what it is that you all think down below. And are there any other questions that you have that I didn't ask? Let me know, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.